Just to ask the Minister of the level of funding that has been provided to housing authorities for the provision of emergency accommodation in 2024 and 2025. And I understand that it may not be possible to present it here in tabular form, but if we could get that, I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, and I thank Deputy Connolly for raising this important issue in relation to funding that has been provided to housing authorities for the provision of emergency accommodation in 2024 and 2025, and I appreciate the Deputy seeking it in tabular form. Supporting individuals and families at risk of or experiencing homelessness is a priority for the Government and is a priority for myself. Critical to this is increasing the supply of housing. Government is committed to increasing supply with a record level of €6.8 billion in capital funding being made available for delivery of housing in 2025. The capital provision is supplemented by a further €1.65 billion in current funding to address housing need. This will allow us to build on the more than 10,500 new social homes which were delivered in 2024 through build, acquisition and leasing, including 7,871 new build homes, including HAP and RAS. 20,292 social housing solutions were delivered through 2024. And the programme for Government commits to providing emergency accommodation to everyone that needs it. An allocation of €303 million has been made under budget 2025 to provide homelessness prevention services, emergency accommodation and other services for households experiencing homelessness. And this funding will also support the provision of supports that households require to exit emergency accommodation to a tenancy, including tenancy sustainment services and housing first. In addition, capital funding of €25 million will support the delivery of high-quality transitional and emergency accommodation for individuals experiencing homelessness. The total funding provided by my department to each of the homeless regions in 2024 was €384,999,954, and to date in 2025, €81,523,279 in funding has been provided. As requested by my department, it will make this data available to the Deputy in tabular form.
Thank the Minister for his response, and I suppose I thank him for noting that we do need to develop solutions to make sure that we can reduce this bill as we're going forward. It's a very necessary but unfortunately very high bill. The figures are quite startling, €385 million. But again, as I say, it's very necessary. I think of all the problems we have in housing, and many of them have been discussed this morning, the one that causes me most concern is the level of homelessness. And I must say particularly the level of homeless children in our society. Outside of Dublin, the West region has the highest number of homeless children. In the West region, there are 28 families that have been in emergency accommodation for 2 years now. And there's no other region outside of Dublin that's comparable. Every other region is single digit. 28 families in the West region, and that's very concerning. And it's not simply the lack of shelter, it's the long-term impact for those children of that homelessness. It's we're well used to hearing the well-worn phrase, it takes a village to rear a child. But in these situations, these children are not part of a community. They're in emergency accommodation, and that's short-term, and who knows, it may not be somewhere that they'll be for a long time. So it is crucial that we challenge this area. One other query I have is in terms of the organisation of homeless services. Sorry, okay.
Thank you very much, Cahirlock, and again thank Deputy Connolly for raising this very important issue. And Deputy Connolly has raised this matter with me on numerous occasions, and I know he campaigned on it. And the issue in particular about child homelessness is very dear to the Deputy's heart, and indeed is extremely important to myself that we can address this. I think prevention of people going into homelessness is absolutely critical, and that's what we are working on. Obviously, there's the broader issue of increasing supply. That is the ultimate solution. But in the meantime, until we get that supply up to where we need it, we will continue to work to help prevent people going into homelessness in the first place. And we're working on the development of the National Homeless Prevention Framework this year to ensure all possible measures are being taken across government to prevent homelessness. And a key prevention measure over the last few years, for example, has been the provision of funding to support local authorities to purchase over 3,000 properties from landlords to convert to long-term social housing under the acquisition scheme. In the tenant in-situ acquisitions itself has been an important measure, and we've seen significant funding this year for second-hand acquisitions, with €325 million already being made available. And my department continues to engage with local authorities on the operational details for second-hand acquisitions. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister, again. I suppose just to note one thing about the organisation of emergency accommodation and homeless services. Organised on a regional manner. In the West region, there are 4 local authorities: Galway City Council, Galway County, Mayo and Roscommon County Council. Galway City Council are the lead authority in that relationship. And I do have some concern, Minister, that there hasn't been additional resources, be they human resources or financial resources, provided to Galway City Council in the provision of that role. I would have been made aware by staff within the housing section of Galway City Council that they feel that they do require further staff within this area, emergency accommodation and homeless services, and indeed tenancy, sustainable tenancy officers. And I would ask you, Minister, maybe to look at that, given that Galway City has that role as the regional lead in the West Region homelessness emergency accommodation provision, that you might look at additional staff covering that area.
And again, thank Deputy Connolly for raising this important issue around homelessness, in particular child homelessness. I continue to engage with the Deputy. I'll be meeting with the 2 Galway local authorities in the coming weeks. I'll be heading up to Galway to meet both the city and the county. And homelessness is a national issue, but it does have regional variations in terms of both causation and how we address the particular issues. And I'm aware of the Deputy's data that does show that area is having particular challenges outside of the Dublin region. So I want to engage with the local authorities. The staffing will remain under review, but we want to ensure as well that the supports are being put in place to ensure that we can prevent people going into homelessness in the first place, where it does happen, that people are transitioned back out of homelessness as quickly as possible. Thank you.